a part of me, a part of most people, you just want to be who you are. I love to cuss.
Yeah.
I mean, it brings me joy and pleasure. I like to say inappropriate things.
When I got to college, right, I wanted to be like a young Stephen A. Smith or whatever. I keep saying his name, but honestly, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a radio broadcaster or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I got there, my freshman year, my professor, that was his first year ever teaching as well. His name was Ray Caputo, and Ray Caputo has this crazy thing to where he still works. He's a professor at Bethune, but he also does a lot of work in radio. And he has this crazy thing to where he'll be talking to you. He's from up north somewhere, and he's talking like he's regular, and then he'll get on air, and it's like a fucking complete change. It's like
Really?
his voice and his mannerism, and it's crazy. He has like that's his broadcasting voice.
So he has a complete broadcasting voice.
Yeah,
Separate from his talking.
Separate from it talking. So I would stay after class and all of that to try to soak that up and try to learn this and that. I couldn't get there. I never could. But what I thought I did was kind of get close, right?
Okay.
To sort of getting it, right?
Yeah.
But still, there's still like there's still mishaps in to where the fucking language and basically what I'm trying to get to is a disconnect somewhere into where the language where how I want to be presented, how I want to present myself versus learned behavior and the way I fucking grew up.
Yeah.
And it comes across, and I remember Will was talking about Antonio Brown. He was like, well, this is just a guy who can't really articulate for himself. He's not the most articulate guy, and this and that. And where it really comes from is when you spend 20 years in a certain habitat or a fucking area, it's going to be learned behavior. It's just the way they talk. You know what I mean? It's just so it's like when you try to change, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you sound white, or you sound.
Oh, I got what you're saying. Yeah.
You sound this, you sound that.
Well, is that what they call code switching or no?
Exactly what it is. That's what he's trying to get to.
I could have knocked this out in 3 seconds.
Well, I wanted to give it back. I wanted to give it some backstory.
Find a way to articulate code switching. That's what
Code switching.
Bubba, you're probably tired after that whole explanation. You might need to get some air.
But I wanted to explain that like that because that is the backdrop to a lot of folks, and I think a lot of folks struggle with that. That's why they say like black people have like their like when their phone voice, when like you can tell when they're at work or if they're on the phone trying to handle business or something. Hello sir, how are you doing today?
Yeah, no, you can always tell. Like you can always tell. Are they talking to a black person or a white person on the phone?
Exactly.
100%.
They had that movie too. I wish, for the fucking sake of this thing, I have the worst memory in the world, but.
sorry to bother you or something like
Yeah, sorry to bother you. Well, the guy was. You ever seen that?
No, I don't think so.
It's a great movie about how the guy moved up in the ranks of telemarketing.
Oh, okay.
And an old black man gave him the game. It's like, yo, if you want to make some money in this telemarketing thing, you got to talk white.
Wait a minute.
What?
Did this movie have some super weird like
At the
fucking
end, towards the
dragons and shit?
Nah, it wasn't dragons, but it did have a weird turn at the end.
It's like a psycho thriller kind of thing. So
Yeah.
It's not.
There was no weird animals involved.
No, it was weird though.
It was weird at the end.
I want to say I might have seen this with my son.
You might have.
Oh God, yeah.
Danny Glover and the dude from Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think I was traumatized watching this movie. It was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life.
Towards the
But
end.
I know the scene you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it was really fascinating.
It was really
Yes,
fascinating.
yes.
Yeah.
If they just stopped the movie right then.
It would have been a great movie
Yeah,
to me.
exactly.
I thought that was a great point, and it's something that people go through, and
Yes.
and it's very relatable.
I
You know
got
what I'm
you.
saying?
Yes,
You know what I'm
yes.
saying? So I was just saying, like, I wonder, like, what is the give and take on that, and what do you think? What is the real struggle there?
What's the real struggle there is, I mean, you're in a better position to articulate it than me.
I don't think people like really understand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of what it is, but to understand the struggle of it, I honestly can't.
Well, what about it's not really the struggle of it, because I just explained it. The struggle.
Well,
of
no, well, yeah, but I'm
But-
saying like if you're
the outtakes on it or the
like
take
if
on
you're getting yeah, I mean, if you're like essentially like slipping up in situations that you don't intend to, I guess that would be the struggle, or I would equate with the struggle. But I mean, my belief is that it's believed to be sort of a necessity to navigate certain circles, certain white circles, to be honest, and that that you're going to have to articulate in a certain way to be acceptable to a certain audience of basically white people, and that if you don't change the language, change the vernacular on certain things, that's going to be held against you. And that's, I guess, presumably that's the only ostensible motivation for it to exist, is that you realize you're probably going to be rejected in a setting, speaking in a way that's most familiar and most comfortable to you. So you feel like, well, I'm in this quote unquote professional / white setting. I need to, talk a little bit differently, clean up my language and whatever, so that I'm viewed and perceived as acceptable in this setting.
Right.
That's, I mean, that's a major thing. I mean, and that's a product in a part of racism, and I don't want to diminish that, but there is a context of speaking a bit beyond that you are always like, take race out of it. It's like if you're talking to a girl that you're trying to get with, you're going to say things and phrase things in a way that you think is going to be received well by her, and you're not going to speak the same way
that
talking
you would
about
with your
basketball
homeboy.
to me.
Yeah.
I mean, so that, tailoring your message to an audience is not an exclusively color-based thing, but it's undeniable that people of color, black people, face a situation where, that to find acceptability in white circles, that there's an expectation maybe that has to happen. Yeah,
but so I don't want to say should, but what do you? So because some parents, right? In the hood, right? They would say, okay, you can't say ain't at the table, like that's a slap on the hand or whatever. Like there's certain verbiage and stuff like that growing up to where they would, halt their kids on, preparing them for that. Do you think that's like, taking culture away from them versus, kids growing up and just being able to, keep that dialect and talk the way that everyone talks in the hood, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you get the place that it's coming from. They want their kids to have every opportunity that they can have.
Right.
Does that, and I would think here's where the problem is potentially you get to a point where, like, if your parents are those parents and you're going to literally be drilled or slapped into speaking a certain way, then you're going to be in another setting amongst friends, maybe people in your neighborhood, on your school or whatever, and you are going to be the guy who talks white or whatever.
Right.
And, and that can create its own issues in that particular setting if you're not, adept at navigating it. It's just really, I mean, a part of most people, you just want to be who you are. I love to cuss.
Yeah.
I mean, it brings me joy and pleasure. I like to say inappropriate things, but like I know I can't always do that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of frustrating. So I mean, I think it's almost idealistic and absurd to say that I can only have one way of talking and take it or leave it, love me or hate me on it. You do have to be able to communicate in different ways.
Exactly.
And I'll also look at it from the perspective of, like, let's say, like, coaching, what I do, and dealing with clients. It's like, if my objective is to communicate to you or to communicate to Ant or to Black, I've got to try and tailor my message and like combination. I'm listening to what you're giving me and I'm responding to that to truly communicate with you. Or if I'm trying to teach you something or coach you to do something, I have to find your wavelength of communication. I can't just assume that I'm going to deliver the same message to every kid that I'm coaching. It won't work.